This is Blog Talk Radio Conversation with Doug Pagitt every Tuesday during the summer and a guest host. And today we're joined by Carla Barnhill at the new 10:30 hour. Hey, Carla.
Yeah.
This is Carla, and we need to get her up on the video. Pardon me. Carla needs to, adjust her chair. There she is, the one, the only, the Carla Barnhill. And here's what we do on the question. It used to be in the regular schedule we would have a different guest host each day. Now it's sort of one right after the other.
Like a festival.
It's it's a festival of
Dougapalooza. People just keep showing up.
Hey, love it. The Dougapalooza. All right, so this is Carla Barnhill.
Pagipalooza. I think that's better.
She's got her sassy self here, all ready to go. Carla is the curator of themommyrevolution.com over there with her friend Karn, by a vowel. What's her last name?
Karin Rivadeneira.
Oh, Karin.
Karin.
Oh, I
Car
thought
in the
it was Karin.
garage. No.
Karin.
Car in
She
the
doesn't need to
garage.
buy the vowel then.
No, she's got a Y in there and an A.
Yeah. She's got extra vowels. So Carla tells us about thoughts on parenting, thoughts on being a mom, some thoughts on being a dad. Yeah?
Sure, yeah.
If you need dads. I don't
Yeah.
know if they need dads anymore.
Kind of talking more, not about the ins and outs of parenting so much, but kind of more the cultural ramifications of parenting.
Yes.
It's kind of the big picture.
And how have things been going over there at the Mommy Revolution? Are you talking about summer and all?
Well, no, not really. We've been talking about friendship. It's a big issue for moms in particular. It can be very isolating and lonely. And so we had that conversation. But now today, what we're talking about is this whole Daniel Hauser thing. Have you already talked about old Daniel
No, I
Hauser?
haven't talked about it. Tony tried to bring it up a while ago. I didn't find it interesting, so I didn't talk about it.
Oh, so are we not going to talk
No,
about it?
no,
now?
we can totally. I didn't at that time when it was just sort of like should the state intervene and make this kid receive these treatments?
Right.
And then it has really escalated since then with them.
Yeah.
You know.
So for people who don't know, people who aren't privileged enough to live in Minnesota where this is on the news all the time.
Here.
Daniel Hauser is this 13-year-old boy from southern Minnesota who has a very treatable form of cancer. It's important to note, Hodgkin's lymphoma. Look at you. Yes, I'm pushing an agenda.
I guess
right now.
depending on your view of this case, its treatability
There are ways to treat it.
Might be important.
There are ways it can be treated, yeah. So anyway, his mother has not wanted him to receive this treatment. He hasn't wanted to receive this treatment. He's 13 years old. So, and then last week, he and his mom took off after the court ordered him to receive treatment. And
a particular form of treatment. The parents
chemotherapy
have never
and
argued,
radiation.
They've
Yes.
never argued that he shouldn't be treated, as far as I understand.
Right. Well,
They've said
she's been treating him in a particular way.
Right. They've said
That has not proven to be effective because his tumor continues to grow. They did go in for an X-ray last week after the court ordered them to, and his tumor was larger. So that, to me, suggests that the treatments that she's been using have not been all that helpful.
But would that mean that it's become now a treatment option that's not doable? Because there's a certain percentage of kids his age with the same condition who do chemotherapy and don't see the benefits from it.
Mm-hmm. But
no
90% of them
but
do.
10% don't. So
Yeah.
it could be that he's in the 10% category of his treatment set.
Sure.
And one shouldn't say that chemotherapy is not an effective treatment and is not helpful because one particular case isn't responsive to it. So this is the larger question that goes into this is.
I don't understand what you're saying. He's had one treatment of chemotherapy.
But what I'm saying is that a treatment like chemotherapy is effective somewhere in the 90% range, which means there's 10% for whom it's not effective.
Sure.
It could be that in his treatment set that he's doing with the remedies that he's using,
that he's in the 10%.
that he's in the that it's also 90% effective.
Sure.
So should the state then get in the business of deciding which treatment you should utilize based on his responsiveness?
Although
This is the larger question.
the guy who's sort of the guru of the kind of natural health care that she's following, which I should say I think is pretty different than what Shelley's advocating, for example, has some real differences.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I want to be careful is we're not saying, especially coming on the heels of Shelley here, this isn't a blanket indictment of natural health care in any way. But even the guy who's sort of the guru of this has suggested to her that she's pushing this a little farther than she ought. So I think that's important to note, too, that this isn't, there's this whole pool of people now. I mean, even the guy who's the main proponent of this is telling her she needs to be reconsidering her stance.
Yes. I understand. I was just trying to make the argument that
Sure.
it's not like one's effective and the other. That's part of this lore of this case, but it's
Yeah. Well, what Karen and I, the take that we're taking on it is how public should parenting be? Private
Yeah.
versus public parenting.
Yeah.
Like
how
what are
about
what are the bounds of
you go.
privacy in terms of parenting, and what decisions does a parent get to make that the court or the government or the church or whoever else doesn't get a say so in?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the question that we're raising about it, is that that this situation gets you thinking about, because Karen brought up the point, she's got a 2.5-year-old who's still nursing, and she said there are people who might consider that molestation, that I'm somehow abusing my child.
Yeah.
So she's like, she's talking about the slippery slope there,
Right,
of
right.
involvement, which, to me, the slippery slope, you can always have a slippery slope, but you can't make
right.
decisions
You can't
based
make
on what
decisions
might
on the slippery
right,
slope.
on what might happen
Right,
or
on
might
the
not
on
happen.
the slip and slide, as you
Right.
might say. Because anyone who's enjoyed a slip and slide in the summer
We
knows
enjoyed one this weekend.
that's
at
no
the
time to be
Barnhill
making a
house.
decision when you're on the slip and
Right.
slide.
Because
that's the time to go.
people
"Oh."
do jam their heads into stuff at the end of it, but that's no reason
let's
not
not be
everybody
silly.
shouldn't have one. Yeah. No, so that's sort of the question that we're raising, is what are the bounds of private parenting? And my contention is that as our children don't belong to us as possessions that we are solely in charge of. I'm very much it takes a village kind of person, and I think that as parents, this is my take, that we need to be paying attention to the village. We need to be paying attention to other people in this, and in the Daniel Hauser case, for example, his father has a different position than the mother. So, here you've just, even within the family unit, you've got two differences of opinion about how this needs to be treated in their broader family community extension. So it ripples out very quickly.
Yeah.
About, is it the mom who gets to make the decisions? Do the parents do it together? Is it the broader family? And is it the community? So my contention is that children are not a possession that belongs to a person. We don't raise children as sort of, this is my thing here. We nurture children to go out into the world and be participants in the world around us. So that world around us gets some say-so in the kind of person we send out there, I think.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
And Karen I invited her to join us. I don't know if she will or not, if she's able to this morning. But
I'll keep an eye on
she's
the-
a good
on the call
libertarian. So for her,
Oh,
government involvement,
Is that an oxymoron?
a good libertarian?
Go on.
She
Is that like the good Samaritan of our day?
Kind
like,
of,
I'm supposed
yeah.
to love them anyway?
Well, yeah, maybe.
supposed to-
Yeah, you're supposed to be struck by the irony of it. What?
Oh, scandal.
Yeah, a good libertarian. What is this you speak of? Anyway, she, so for her, it raises her ire, government involvement in the family life, period. Government involvement anywhere in what should be a private decision. So we're having a discussion about that on the TheMommyRevolution.com. So for me at least,
you're into a nice. I mean, that's a very important and deep cultural conversation that we're having.
yes, it is.
That this
And it
country's
happens,
having.
and it goes far
Public
beyond.
education. it
Right,
goes
public
into-
education. It goes into when you're in the grocery store and you see somebody treating their kid in a way that you think is abusive or overly permissive or whatever. Somehow or another,
Yes.
it raises your hackles to see how this person is parenting their
Yes.
child. What role do we have as society to step
Yes.
in on behalf of that child in the grocery store? For
And
that
see,
matter?
and I'm sure we can talk about this after the short break that's going to happen here in a minute. But the struggle is that we don't in this society hold to a center morality. There's no common morality.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's very difficult to say whose voice gets to be ordered in what way.
Right.
the
And
care
not
for
only
the
do we not
child.
have a central morality, what we do have is a centralized value on the individual.
Yeah.
So for us, in the United States at least,
Right,
the
right.
value of the individual trumps so much other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it often, I think, it kind of decimates the common good.
Yeah. Well, this is a Blog Talk Radio conversation with Carla Barnhill and Doug Pagitt. This is going to happen every Tuesday at this same time slot. And if you're watching on the YouTube video stream, we're going to get back with you here in a minute. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, just stay right where you are. If you're watching on Ustream, you also stay where you are. And the news updates brought to you by the Onion Radio Network.